Hey, I'm Jess. This is Let's Break It Down. This is a show where I basically do your English homework for you, and I give you things to think of before you start, a plot summary, and then discussion topics for books that you're probably required to read for class. Last time we looked at Romeo and Juliet in its entirety, so if you wanted to check that out, the link is right up here. And now we're moving on to our third text, which is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Instead of making you watch the full thing, I'm going to kind of break it up into two parts just to make sure that I don't leave anything out. So here's some things that you need to know before we start. Mary Shelley, before she was Mary Shelley, she was just like getting drunk with a bunch of poets, and they were exchanging horror stories, and they were so convinced that they were telling the scariest stories. And Mary Shelley was like, listen, I could crap better stories that would make your fancy 1800 boots shake. And then she told this story, and everyone was so shook by it that she just wrote it down and got it published. Also, one more thing that you need to know before we start is that Frankenstein is not the monster. There is Victor Frankenstein, and then there is the monster. The book starts out with Captain Robert Walton writing a letter to his sister back in England. Dear sister, this whole thing sucks. Everyone here is lame, and call me romantic, but long boat voyages to the North Pole, where you suddenly get stuck in the ice, are better when you have a friend to talk to. You know, a kindred spirit. Someone to connect to. Bye. Second letter. Well, hey sis, hold on to your pretty powdered wig, because what I'm about to tell you is gonna knock it clean off your head. I saw this giant monster ants thing on a sled dog roll by. Then the next morning I got a sick new friend. He's really sick, because he's been riding across the frozen tundra for that big-ass man thing. And we're friends! Okay, goodbye. You will not believe the shit that my sick friend has been through. And so then Frankenstein starts telling a story. Hey, I'm Frankenstein. My childhood was great. I was engaged to this babe for a really long time, since we were kids. And when I was told that we were engaged, I was like, cool. She's really pretty and the nicest woman around, and I am the biggest sack of shit that there's ever been. So I can't do better. Great. When I was younger, I was really into reading this one book about how magic and science are the same thing. And I got to college where I discovered something very important about myself. I'm a self-righteous man with a God complex. And I'm going to make my name go down in history as the man who changed life as we know it. That was a really bad idea, and none of that was good. In case you didn't know, he's miserable, and he's regretting everything in his life. Then Frankenstein's like, found out you can reanimate a corpse, and I did it. It inspired me to do a lot of crazy things, like rob graves, and I took a lot of dead bodies and I just stitched them together, and it took me 2 whole years to fashion a body, but I made it ugly. So ugly. Fuck, he was just ugly. So I just ran away. Henry Clerval comes in for a visit, and then Frankenstein is just super sick from being involved in this project that he just collapses. And then Clerval is like, okay, I guess I gotta be a nurse for 6 months. I have nothing better to do but to nurse my very good friend. Then he got a letter from his dad saying someone murdered his 5-year-old brother by strangling his little brother to death. Frankenstein immediately went home to be with his family. Once he got there, the town gate was closed because it's the 1800s and towns close gates. He just wandered in the woods in the middle of the night, went to this top of the hill where his brother was buried, and he's like, brother, you're dead! And then the ugly monster comes out from the woodwork, and Frankenstein's like, you clearly did this because only ugly people murder. The second that Frankenstein gets home, everyone around him is like, yeah, he's dead. Your childhood friend servants killed him, I guess? Frankenstein's like, no, bullshit. It was the monster. She wasn't convincing to the jury because the prison made her confess to murder. So she was killed. Victor Frankenstein is just running around super sad because he's just like, oh my god, this is all my fault for making this monster in the first place. He just got so deeply upset that he just ran off into the mountains. The second that he stops screaming, the monster just shows up. Do you want to hear a story? Why are you talking like that? Why are you making fun of me? I guess I can listen to this creation's story since I don't really have a lot of regard for it in the first place. And that's part 1. Here's some discussion topics to bring up just to make it seem like you actually read the first half of Frankenstein. So the first thing that you want to do is just to make as many parallels as you can between Walton's journey and Frankenstein's journey. What do you think the monster's motivation is for killing Frankenstein's brother, if he even is the killer? And really, those are the main things that you want to try to talk about so far. That's Frankenstein Part 1. I'll come back here to put a link to Part 2 when that's up. If you wanted to keep up to date with bonus content that I produce, or like check out the PDF version, and you can even read the rest of the story from chapter 11 on. So if you went to the Facebook page, then that's where all that's going to be. So thanks for watching. I'm gonna end it here.